how did you feel when you made it to the NFL? How did you feel?
Man, it was.
I got a quick question. So I know you took football to the next level, but if you didn't, if it was another sport that you
Track.
track.
It's my wife, my kids, and track. At the end of the day, or when everything is finally said and done, you want to be able to look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, I did everything I could possibly do to get to the point where I wanted to get.
I want to ask you about the day that you broke the all-time receiving yards.
I didn't realize that football was your entire life when you went there. I didn't realize because they're paying for your entire school and that football was all year round, 24/7. There is no off time. I thought after the season, I get the opportunity to be a regular student and spend some time with some non-football friends, but no. There's winter ball, there's spring ball. They want you there in the summer. It's like, man, it's a lot. It's more than I thought it was going to be.
So maybe I don't understand it yet because I'm not a parent, but
Right.
yes, you see when you have a younger sibling, you see the difference in how they are raised, and you're like, why couldn't I just have it easy that way, or just not have to go through all that?
And training camp, and the first day of training camp, I pulled my hamstring pretty bad. So I'm out the entire training camp.
So how was once you retired, how was your transition after sports? Was it, because you hear a lot of athletes talk about, of course you didn't gain weight and get out of shape.
No.
We know that. So how was the transition though?
But our second son, he's stubborn. And I'll tell you a story. He was like 5 or 6, and we were going to visit some friends, and one of a good friend, who he really wanted to visit, was like, Colin, if you don't eat those grapes, we're not going. You know his answer was, well, I guess we're not going. The last thing he used to say was, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. Meaning that if the people around you aren't striving, aren't trying to be great, you got to get some different people around you.
Change the people around you.
Change the people around you.
Hello world, how everybody doing out there? Welcome to another episode of Generational Health and Self-Love. I'm your host, Life.
Run easy.
And today we have a very special guest. I want to go ahead and just get into all his accolades real quick because it's going to take me a long time, so I might as well get started now. So we have, I ain't going to say his name till I get to the end of it, but we have a guy here who made it to the NFL. He left NFL, went north to Canada to the CFL, where he stayed for 14 years. This man has most TDs in a career for the CFL at 147, most TDs receptions in a career at 144, most TDs in a season at 23, most yards per catch in a season at 26.5 yards a catch. I mean, I could just keep going on. CFL most outstanding player of the year, hold on, it's so much I keep skipping. Most yards in one season by a Bombers receiver at 1,862 yards. This man was, I don't know who came up with this statistic, but he was named the best looking man in the CFL. But, one more I want to say before I introduce him, bring him out. Most career receiving yards by a Bombers receiver at 15,153. People, I'm talking about the man, the legend, the myth, Mr. Milton Stegall.
Thank you for that introduction, man. What the most important part was prettiest man ever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. Well, yeah, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks.
You've been a friend. You've been someone who I learned a lot from over the years of knowing you, and I appreciate you taking time out your busy day for me and my son to interview you on this podcast. Thank you for coming. And I just want the world to know, like, this is a great guy. This is a good man. And y'all about to be in for a great interview. Mm-hmm. You want to say something, son?
I do want to add in that I remember being younger and going to the gym with my dad like a few times, and him being there and them pushing me to do as much as I could at the gym. But I think this is going to be a great episode today.
Yes, looking forward to it. Yes.
So, Milt, can you tell the people a little bit about your background, where you come from, and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
4 older siblings, very supportive of me. Parents also very supportive of me. As you mentioned, I played football, but growing up, I mean, I did every sport. That was my life, sports. You know, I did football, basketball, ran track, played a little soccer. I did gymnastics. I played. All I wanted to do was play sports, and I talk about how great looking I am, but I didn't get interested in girls till I got to college because I was just so much into sports. Or whatever.
Doing all the sports.
That's all I wanted to do. Yeah, that's all I wanted to do was sports. My parents didn't have to worry about me getting in trouble, getting bad grades because I didn't want to jeopardize my opportunity to play sports. So that's all I wanted to do. They didn't have to worry about me breaking curfew, none of that, because it was all about sports. So my upbringing, I won't say it was easy. You know, there was some struggle there financially because my parents. They worked hard, but trying to support 5 kids and bring a good life. There was some struggle, but for the most part, I had a pretty good upbringing.
Okay. Well, you kind of answered my question that I was about to ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. How were you able to avoid trouble and distraction? But I mean, you kind of answered it, but by saying you played all these sports, so that means you stayed busy. But were there ever any time in your life growing up where you may have seen or may have just was tempted to do some things?
Oh man, without a doubt, it still happens to this day.
So how were you able to? Because you have a great career, so it comes with discipline.
Yes.
So how did you establish that discipline at such an early age?
And I tell my sons this every single day, every time I talk to them. My oldest off in college now, so I don't talk to them as much. I say, at the end of the day, or when everything is finally said and done, you want to be able to look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, I did everything I could possibly do to get to the point where I wanted to get. And if you go out there and there are some distractions and you get involved in those distractions, you'll look in the mirror and say, man, I didn't do everything I could possibly do.
Yeah.
And you may not get where you want to get, but if you can look in the mirror and say, I did everything I could do. I sacrificed. I worked as hard as I could. I did whatever I could do. You're successful. That's all you can do, because that's all you can do. You can't control always the outcome, but you can control what you can control, and that's what you put into getting to that outcome. So that was always my ultimate goal. I never had any goals as far as when it came to sports or when it came to school or life in general, saying I want to get this many yards, I want to get grades, all A's. My only goal was to say I did all I can do, and that's all you can do.
Now that's very powerful.
I got a quick question. So I know you took football to the next level, but if it was another sport that you
track.
Okay.
That's my first love right there.
What you run in track?
In high school, I ran the 800, the 400, the 200, and the 100. And in college, I ran the 400, the 200, and 100, and of course, all the relays. But I love track. It's my wife, my kids, and track.
Wow.
The one thing I enjoy about it is, and I'm not a selfish person, but I don't need anyone's help.
Yeah.
Football is the ultimate team sport.
Yeah.
And you need others' help. And I know some of these guys weren't doing the same things I was doing. And knowing that I have to get on the field with these guys, knowing that they didn't sacrifice like I did, that disturbed me some. It never came out. But I know in track, it's all on me. I didn't need anyone's help.
So where did your love for track? Where did that develop? Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love running. It's my drug and my therapy. You know me,
Yeah,
Rob.
I know.
I love running. I mean, that's where we met, working out, But I just enjoy it. I enjoy it to this very day. And when I can't do it, you guys are going to be getting an invitation to my funeral because life is over. But I just love it. Like I alluded to, it's my drug and my therapy.
Wow.
Yep.
So I got a question, another question for you. When did your love for football start? Like when did you start taking football serious anyway?
Well, what happened, one of my older brothers, who's almost 4 years older than me, he was like 8 at the time, and he started playing football. Okay. I mean, I was only like, 5 and a half. Yeah. But I told my parents, if y'all don't let me play, I'm gonna throw a tantrum. Because they didn't want me to play. My mother was like, and I'll tell you another story about my mother in football. She was like, no, I don't want to see, you're too small. I was like, no, if you don't let me play, I'm gonna throw a tantrum. So I started getting on I didn't start playing until I was like 7, right? Because I was just so much smaller than everyone else. Yeah. But I got on the field and I was like, I like this. Yeah. I like this competitive spirit. But I tell you, I told you a story about my mother. My mother, I started playing football like 6 or 7, 5 and a half. She didn't see me play the first time until my last game in college.
Wow.
Now, she came to my other sporting events, but she was like, I couldn't come see you play because I thought you would get hurt.
Yeah.
She was like, so
football, yeah.
I was like, well, you need to. This may be my last time playing. You need to come see me play. But she was like, she loved me. She supported me in my other stuff. She was like, I couldn't come see you play. because I thought you would get hurt.
When
But
did you know you can go to the next level when it came to football?
I didn't know until like my junior year in college. I never had any aspirations of playing pro. As I talked about earlier, my thing is I just want to do my best.
Yeah.
So my junior year, my receiver coach at the time, he was only like 28. He had a buddy who was playing with the Chicago Bears, right? So he came and saw our spring practice, and after the practice, he walked up to me and said, because he played tight end for the Sharks, he's like, you can play in the pros. If you want to, you'll have an opportunity to play in the pros. So
this was your junior year.
This is my junior year. Yeah. And as I talked about, I mean, I hated college football too.
Yeah.
I didn't have fun at all playing college
Yeah.
football. I didn't realize how much of your college life revolves around college football.
I have some friends that play college football, and the people that the coaches and all, they determine when they go home and all that.
Determine
So you can't
everything.
Even, you can't.
Determine when you can take classes. All your friends are football players because that's all you spend your time around. So I didn't have fun at all. I gave it my all because I talked about always getting my all, but I didn't have fun at all. I didn't enjoy college until I got the chance to run track.
Yeah.
That's when I
So you
started.
did run track in college.
I finally got to run like my last 2 years. The football coach let me run, and that's when I really started enjoying college.
Well, when you was in high school playing football, like were there a lot of offers? Like what made you go to college for football?
Well, because it was going to be free.
Well, yeah, that make a lot of sense.
I had 4 older siblings, and my parents worked their butt off, and they
Yeah.
were able to put those through college with no debt afterwards. So I knew there was no money left for me. So I knew if I can give my parents the opportunity not to pay for me to go to college,
You're gonna take it.
I was going to take it.
Yeah.
I was going, and I
that
thought
make
it
a
was
lot
going to
of
be.
sense.
I didn't realize that football was your entire life when you went there. I didn't realize because they're paying for your entire school and that football was all year round, 24/7. There is no off time. I thought after the season I get the opportunity to be a regular student and spend some time with some non-football friends, but no. There's winter ball, there's spring ball. They want you there in the summer. It's like, man, it's a lot. It's more than I thought it was going to be.
So, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So how was it after you got to play your last 2 college years in track, right?
Right.
After that, did you had to give it up to go to the NFL?
That was it. Yeah. I wasn't that fast when I was going to go pro, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, I was fast enough where I could compete in college. But after that, I knew that was it. But I kept running track. Part of my off-season workout is running track, and not just because I wanted to stay in shape. It's because I enjoy doing it. I know that sounds odd.
No, I do. Track too.
I just enjoy doing it, and I don't need anybody out there. It's good when I have people out there like Ron and a bunch of us are out there because we push each other. But if I have to go out there by myself, I can still push myself.
So you still got it.
I still got it. You want to find out, young buck? Let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know, and we'll
We'll
put it on the
schedule
cast.
that.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
schedule
This is on camera now.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
never ducking. I love a race. I love a race. I did track too. So the competition.
You think you're stepping into some mud, but it's some quicksand, young buck. It's some quicksand.
I know how to get out.
Now, well, I want to ask you this before we get into the NFL. Before we even get all the way there, I want to go back a little bit. And I seen an interview of you, and something you said on there has stuck with me since I seen that, and it was very powerful. You said on there that your dad was the greatest man to ever walk this earth. Could you talk to us about that a little bit, please?
Yeah. I talk about my father because, and I truly believe that. My father was born in 1922 in Noonan, Georgia, rural Georgia.
Yeah.
So slavery ended in 1865, but we know what was still going on then. So he went through a lot. He had 10 brothers and sisters. There was a struggle growing up. I remember coming down here when I was younger and seeing where he grew up, and there was no running water in his house.
Wow.
And I saw how he was able to come out of that. I moved up to Cincinnati, met my mother, and just made a great life for our family. And I saw that and thought to myself, hold on, man. I have all this. He had nothing. He was able to do this. So if I can't be successful with everything him and my mother gave me, something is wrong. Because I saw he literally worked himself to death. He had a job. He had businesses. He had a lawn care service. He had he had real estate. He had everything. And this all came from a high school education, Yeah. So I said, okay, this is the example. He gave me the blueprint. He showed me and my siblings what it took for greatness. And I said to myself, hey, There's no reason for me not to be great because I saw it from the greatest man in the world. Wow. He was loving, he was caring, he worked himself to death literally, but he always found time to support his kids at their events. I don't know how he did it. Yeah. He had an hourly job, you know. When you leave your hourly job, you're not getting paid, but he made sure he was there to support his kids. So I saw that. Unfortunately, he died when I was 18, but I said to myself, hey, I had 18 years. He molded me into the person that I was and I am right now. So I thank him every day for what he did and gave for me and my siblings.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. Like, that is so powerful. When I heard that, I was just like, man, I just stopped it and I was looking. I was just like, you don't hear that.
Yeah, no.
You do not hear that at all nowadays with people talking about their dads.
Right.
Like, you don't hear. You hear more of a lack of fathers than you hear about stories about fathers and the great things that they do. So to hear that story, I wanted to share it with everybody watching because it's just powerful and it's very moving. So I just hope that I can leave somewhere as close to that because that's a lot. That's some big shoes to fill.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And,
I just want to say thank you to your pops too because he did a good job.
He did a great job. But we see it right now. We see it right now. What you're doing with your son right now, what you're instilling in him. You know? Yeah. We see it every day.
So would you say, you know, the impact he had on you has determined how, like, made an effect on how you raise your kids?
Without a doubt. That's a great question. Without a doubt. My father was a nice guy, but he was hard-nosed. He would tell his kids, we're going to be friendly, but I'm not your friend. Yeah. We're going to be friendly, but I'm not your friend. And I tell my sons that all the time. And my older son, it's more respect. Yeah. When I was younger, and my son, he said something to me the other day. When I was younger, I was scared of my parents. Yeah. But as I got like 14, 15, it was respect. Yeah. Out of respect, I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize me getting in trouble. Yeah. At a young age, I was afraid to get in trouble. But as I got older, and my son said something to me the other day, he was like, when I was younger, I was scared of you. Yeah. It's like, that's what you're supposed to be. And some people may not agree with that, but as kids, as they're young, they don't understand the respect thing. But they understand, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to be scared. And that's how it should be, in my opinion. So the same thing my father instilled in me are the same things I instill in my kids, my two sons.
So can you, I know can you kind of like, if you can, explain what you think the difference in your life would have been had you not had a father?
Woo. Man, I don't know. I really don't know. It's tough, and people say, you know, it's single moms. They do a great job, but you gotta have a man in the house. Yeah. You gotta have a man there. It makes such a big difference. I have buddies who I grew up with who didn't have a man, and unfortunately, a decent amount of those, their life didn't turn out the way it could have if they would have had a man there. Yeah. You know, some of them, unfortunately, are in jail. Yeah. A couple of them didn't make it because they got into some mess, and that's the only path they saw. So, not having a father around, it makes a big difference. And a lot of people say it doesn't. As long as you got a strong mother, no. You got to have that man there, especially for boys. How can a woman show a young man how to be a man? She doesn't know. A lot of them do their best, but they just don't know, you know? So man, I hate to think about what would have happened to me if I didn't have my father there. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that because seeing how my mom raises my little brother, you know, because his dad is not really that involved in his life because he's done a bunch of things and just been not around. So I know that sometimes when my mom, you know, wishes that she has somebody that because I know sometimes I have to discipline Bruce or tell him not to do this, to do that, or just to have certain talks with him because, you know, my mom, I mean, if she has to, she will, but it's certain talks that like a father should have with a son, or that would be helpful to have. But you know, you have circumstances where that's not possible, and you have to do what you can.
You got to do what you got to do. Exactly.
But I had definitely seen her, you know, if his dad was more involved, or if he was, you know, able to be there for him, that would have helped a lot.
Big time.
In the whole process of raising him. So I definitely agree with that.
And we only have so much time in our kids, as I just mentioned. My oldest son, I mean, he's about to be 20. He's in college now, you know, and at this point, I don't know how much more I can do. So I just hope I laid a great foundation. He's a great kid. He's doing well, but we have to realize we only have so much time to instill what we want to instill in our kids.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
So, having the relationship you had with your father, how were you able to move forward in a positive manner after losing your father?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I had some buddies who didn't have fathers.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I had my father for 18 years.
Yeah.
I had my fathers for 18 years. And if I didn't get it by the time I was 18, I wouldn't go get it because I was on my way to, basically being independent, going away to college, being by myself, figuring things out on my own. So I was fortunate enough that I did have him 18 years. I know I would have loved to have him for much longer. I would have loved for him to be able to see my kids and everything, but that wasn't the case. There were other things that happened. So I said to myself, hey, I had him for 18 years. That foundation, that strong foundation has been laid. Now it's time for me to go out there and make sure I do the right things with the foundation he laid in me.
Okay, yeah, I get that you mourn, but you decide to lead with being grateful for what you did have instead of dwelling on, forever not have like what you lost, but you had all this time with him, so you were grateful for it and use that as like keeping you in up spirits because you got friends that you said didn't have parents,
right,
didn't have a dad at all,
right. Without it, and I'll tell you a story. The day he died, I had a basketball game that day, right? Mm-hmm. So of course I wasn't gonna play in the basketball game. I come home, and my mother was like, "No, what are you doing? We got to keep it moving. Your father would want you to play in this basketball game. You got to keep moving on. You can't just stand still and mourn. There's a way to mourn, but that's not it." So she called the coach, and the coach was like, "Yeah, my best friend still to this day, a guy named Jerry Wilkerson, he came and picked me up, and I went and played in the game." My mother was like, "No, yes, we don't stop. Yes, death, and unfortunately, is part of what we're going to go through, but your father would want you to keep moving, so you got to keep moving. You got to keep recognizing and realizing that, hey, life has to go on even though someone close to you passed away."
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You can't duck it at all. So now we're going to transition back into football.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel when you made it to the NFL? How did you feel?
Man, it was an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
It was a special feeling, especially playing for my hometown team.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, wow, this is it. But after that is when the good times stopped. That was it.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, the two good things I got in NFL was a pension and a 401k. That's pretty much it. The thing about the NFL, guys don't enjoy the NFL. They enjoy the things that come with playing in it, because it's a grind. Yeah. And for me, it was more of a grind because I was at the bottom of the totem pole.
Okay.
And when you're at the bottom of the totem pole on a losing team, day to day, you don't know what's going to happen. Every day you walk into that facility could be your last. Yeah. And a lot of times that happened to a lot of guys. Tuesday is the off day in the NFL. I think that's still the case. So every Tuesday, I would go down there and get some workout or get some treatment. And every Tuesday they would fly in guys and work them out. Mm-hmm. And if you're on a losing team and they saw a guy they liked, they were going to sign him, mean they had to get rid of somebody else. So it was every single day I would walk in like, is this it? Yeah. Is this it?
Would they leave the names on the board or something?
No, they just say, okay, you just wouldn't see that guy that day. You wouldn't see him. That would be it. That's how it worked. They were cutting guys. When you're on a losing team, they're cutting guys left and right. It's a revolving door because they're trying to get better. So I made it 3 years in NFL, but it wasn't fun. You're losing. You're dealing with a lot of egos, not only from players but from coaches too. There are a lot of egos.
Some coaches may hadn't even went that far, and they.
Oh my goodness! And they know who they can scream at. They can scream at the guys at the bottom of the totem pole because they can't scream at the top money guys because those guys run the team. So it was an experience. It was a learning experience, but I wouldn't say I had a good time doing it. I wouldn't say that.
So how did the CFL come about?
So what happened was when my time ended up with the Bengals for 3 years, I signed with the Green Bay Packers, right? Yeah. So I go through all the off-season workout program. I go through training camp, and the first day of training camp, I pulled my hamstring pretty bad. So I'm out the entire training camp. So at the end of training camp, they was like, we have nothing to evaluate you on. We have to release you. So they released me, and I'm thinking, okay, my career is over with. My football career is over with because, another NFL team signed me. And I get a call from my agent like a couple of days after I got cut from Green Bay saying, there's a team in the CFL who has your rights, who want you to come up there and play. So I was like, okay. I thought about it. I was 25 at the time, didn't have any, big responsibility. I was like, I'll give it a try. And he told me the team was Winnipeg, and I always say this, my exact words were, what's a Winnipeg? I had no idea. I'd never heard of Winnipeg. I knew of Canada, Winnipeg. I knew of Toronto. I'd been to Toronto, Montreal. I knew of Vancouver, but had no idea what a Winnipeg was. So I thought I'd give it a shot. And I mean, it was besides. I always say this. Besides marrying my wife having my kids, it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, 14 years later.
And I'm still reaping the benefits.
Yes.
I've been retired from 16 years, and I'm still reaping the benefits.
So when did you become, once you signed, and once you went to the CFL, you signed with Winnipeg and everything, when did you become the elite?
Man?
Yeah.
It took a second.
Yeah.
And when I first got up there, my thinking was, man, I'm about to be the greatest receiver who ever stepped in the CFL. And I got humbled quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's a different league.
Yeah.
It's a different style of football, especially for receivers, because you have the motion.
Yeah.
The DBs back then could be a lot more physical. It's a fast game. You got to be in better shape. So it took me about a year and a half to figure it out. It was tough at the beginning because I didn't know all the nuances of the game. I didn't know everything. So I really had to indulge into watching film, into studying the playbook, all this stuff, because it was but it was a different game than what I was used to. So after that year and a half, I got used to it. I figured things out. That's when it took off. And I did become the best receiver in CFL history.
Yeah, you did. That's facts. I said this through my introduction, but I just got to ask you, because if y'all didn't hear what I said in the introduction, I'm about to ask him this question. How the hell did you become the best looking man in the CFL?
Look at me. What you mean? It's obvious. I mean, blame it on my parents. Blame it on my parents.
So what year? Do you remember what year?
The moment I stepped in Canada.
Oh, okay.
The moment. It was self-inflicted, of course, but everybody ran with it. No one gave me the title, but
okay. Because when I was doing my research, that was a part of the research.
That was part of it. Yeah, no one gave me the title, but I said it so much, so folks just bought into it.
And I want to ask you about the day that you broke the all-time receiving yards. How did you feel on that day? Like, did you know on that day that you were going to break the record?
I knew there was a good chance.
Yeah.
I knew there was a good chance. I think I needed like 100 and something yards, but I ripped off like a long touchdown for like 80 something yards. So I knew, okay, now we're going to get there. Yeah. So breaking that, but even more so when I broke the touchdown record, that was the one. Yeah. That was the big one, because it happened in Winnipeg, in front of the home fans. It's a record that's going to be very difficult to break because players really don't play that long anymore. You know, it's difficult to play for a decade, let alone 14 years. And the fact that I was able to do it with the same team meant a lot. So, I mean, those things are stitched into my brain as part of my, my career and all the great things I was able to do. But like I said, that touchdown record, because it happened in front of the home fans in Winnipeg, that's the one I think I'll remember more than any.
Oh that's something that's gonna be celebrated for a long time.
Yes.
And how did they also, you were awarded with your own street?
Yes.
Now how was that? How did that
Man.
feel? I know that was amazing.
That's amazing. And every time I go back to Winnipeg, I make sure I drive down that street. There were a lot of people who were part of that, making sure that happened, and that just lets me know how loved I am in that community. It's a special place to me. My youngest son was born there my last year. Yes, he was born in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so did you meet your wife in
No. She's American. I met her. We're both from Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. No, she's American, so yeah. Okay. But she actually spent a good amount of time there. My last year, she was pregnant with my last son, so she came up there, and she didn't realize how well Winnipeg treated me, and she was getting the same treatment. Yeah. So it's a special place. That Winnipeg is a special place. The province of Manitoba is a special place, and every time when I still go back up there today, I just feel so much love, and I enjoy it so much. If it wasn't so cold there and the mosquitoes weren't so bad in the summer, we thought about living there. But I mean, it's not my second home; it's my other home because of the way I'm treated every time I go back up there.
So how was once you retired, how was your transition after sports? Was it, because you hear a lot of athletes talk about Of course, you didn't gain weight and get out of
No,
shape.
no.
We know that. So how was the transition though?
It wasn't a hard one.
Okay.
It was time for me to move on.
Yeah.
Actually, the year before I retired, my wife and I, we had planned on retiring, but Winnipeg wanted me to come back and do one more year. So it wasn't a hard transition. My body had pretty much tapped out.
Okay.
As far as being able to run, I'm always able to do that. But as far as the pounding, the hitting.
But what did you do to replace the time that you training and camp and going to, like, what did you do after football?
That's when the family came in. I had 2 young kids. My oldest son was 3 and my youngest was 6 months. So it was all about the family.
Yeah.
We actually planned it out that way where when I was going to retire, our kids were going to be young. So this, when your kids are young, it's 24/7.
Yeah,
there is no time for anything else. So that took up a lot. And then I got into broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I was still traveling back and forth to Toronto. But for me, it was all about the family. It was all about raising those 2 young boys. Making sure that they had the foundation I had that my father and my mother laid into me. Yeah. So it was all about the family.
Yeah. So speaking of the family, how long have you been married now?
22 years. We just celebrated 22 years, April the 6th.
Congratulations.
Yep. My wife is the luckiest person in the world. So no, I'm just 22 years. And I tell people all the time, as a man, once you get married, you can be right or you can be happy. Yeah. Choose to be happy. So my wife is a special person. She's a special individual. Yeah. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's an excellent mother. Yeah. Great mother. I would say a better mother than my mother was. Yeah. That's how great of a mother she is. So
that's a great accomplishment.
Yes, I hit the lottery when I met her. I hit the lottery. Yep.
Now you got 2 children from your marriage as well, too.
Right.
I wanted to say, same mother or father, to me it don't matter. No kids get the same parent.
No.
So,
no.
Like, what about you change from your first son to your second son?
Yes. Okay. And it's so much different. And we thought our first son was going to have the same traits as our second son was got the same, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally different. So I'm easier and I'm more understanding with our second son, because we have to be. Because with my first son, but our second son, he's stubborn. And I'll tell you a story. He was like 5 or 6, and we were going to visit some friends, and when a friend who we really wanted to visit, he was like, Colin, if you don't eat those grapes, we're not going. His answer was, well, I guess we're not going. I was like, okay, we have to raise this kid a little bit different than what we raised the first kids. But I mean, both of my kids they're great kids, great kids, and when they were younger, they were just boys being boys. They did their things, but they're very respectful of their parents, very respectful of others. You've been around them a little bit, you've seen them a little bit, but
wait, what's their age difference?
My oldest is 19, and my youngest is about to be 16. Yeah, okay. So it's about 3.5 years.
Okay, so did the oldest ever say anything about how you raised the youngest, how you got it easier or anything?
Every now and then he would say, you guys, you wouldn't do that to me. You were so much harder on me. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. So it happened.
You said something, though. You said, when you asked him, when you told him if he don't eat them grapes, y'all not going. And he said, I guess we're not going. Mm-hmm. Now think about if that was you and your oldest son.
Oh my goodness!
What would be?
Oh my goodness! That's a great question.
What would the milk at that point would have said to your oldest son?
It probably wouldn't have been any words. It probably been some snatching up or something. That's a great. I've never thought about that.
Because it ain't something though. Yeah. How we change from the first to the second, or so on and so forth, and it's like and the kids they let you know.
Yes.
That you change.
Yes.
They definitely do.
Maybe I don't understand it yet because I'm not a parent, but yes, you see when you have a younger sibling, you see the difference in how they are raised, and you like, why could not just have it easy that way, or just not have to go through all that?
And especially my wife, because this is her last kid, this is her baby. My oldest son was like, hold on, you didn't do that for me, and like, Chase, it's just different days.
It is. No, but then the youngest be like, they had it hard. They like, oh man, but you didn't even get what we got, so it's like, what? You just be happy.
And the youngest will bite back and say, well, you got to do this and you got to do that.
Yep.
But it's just different strokes for
different strokes,
And your age, Because as a parent, you always growing.
Right.
You always getting better at being a parent.
Right, exactly.
And so as a child, they doing the same thing. We all growing.
We're all growing.
You know, and we hopefully growing for the better.
Because you look at the mistakes you made with your first kids, like, okay, I can't make those mistakes with the second kid or the third kid or fourth kid
and
or whatever.
And they completely different kids. Their personalities are totally different.
You want to treat them fairly, but you know it's not going to be the same way you treat them. But you treat them fairly. You treat all
them fairly, but it's impossible to treat them the same.
It's impossible.
You can't.
It's impossible.
You know, and the kids don't understand that until they get older and they have their own
kids, and they realize, okay.
Then they be like, 30 years later, now see what boy, I can barely walk. I don't want to hear that now.
You changing my diapers along with your kids' diapers.
Now you understand. But another thing I wanted to say, I wanted to ask you, with your son that's in college, that he's playing soccer, did you, when he was growing up, did you push him to play football, or you just let him pick what he wanted to do?
I wanted, as long as you were doing something, that's it. And whatever you do, you go bust your butt. Whatever you do.
Because I remember you training him. I remember you used to have the rope around his waist and tied around you and had it around and stuff like that. Yeah. And I just knew that he was going to end up playing football, but when you told me playing soccer, I was like, wow, that's great. And it's good to see a lot of our young men playing soccer because people just don't know how great their sport is and how big it really is, how global soccer really is.
It is the global sport.
Yes, and how much they get paid.
Yes.
You know? And so how did you feel? How did you feel with your son playing soccer?
Oh, I enjoy it. And I didn't know much about soccer when he started playing. I'm like, okay, I don't. And our thing was we just got to get him doing something. Yeah. Because his name is Chase, and when he was young, we used to wish his name was Stop sometimes. Just all over the place. It was like, we got to get this boy doing something. So, he was 3 years old, so we got him into soccer, and he's been playing ever since. Yeah. And then my youngest son, and I don't know if he just started playing because his older brother started playing, but he started playing when he was 3, and that's all he wanted to do. Oh. Now, Chase, he played football for like a year or two, and he played basketball all the way up until his junior year in high school, but he knew he had to focus on soccer because that's what he wanted to do in college or whatever. So, man, it's been fun. I know the game now. I understand what's going on, and a lot of times I'll watch a soccer game before I watch a football game because it's so intriguing. I know it can be boring sometimes. I know, believe me. But once you understand what's going on, you understand the strategy and all the different thing coaches are trying to do. It's beautiful. And I love watching my kids.
You like with me watching soccer. I learned to respect soccer.
Yes,
because the run up and down that field,
the conditioning,
man.
Yeah, I mean, during the course of a game, they could run 6 or 7 miles during the course of a game
easily.
Yeah,
and that's a stop and go pace, side to side, up and down. I mean, that takes a lot of training.
A lot of training,
and a lot of people you look at it and won't think like, oh, okay, I can get out there and do that. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
You be somewhere dead. Somebody you mouth to
and
mouth.
I consider myself to be in tip top, but I'm not in soccer. Yeah, I'm not in soccer.
Yeah,
no.
So. How has it been working as a broadcaster, knowing that you are famous for talking your talk?
Talking my talk. Man, it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
When people say they've never worked a day in their life, I can truly say that because I went from talking about football, getting paid for that. I mean, playing football to now getting paid for talking about football. Yeah, I've been fortunate when it comes to that. So it was a little tough at the beginning because I didn't know what I was getting into. People think people just show up and start talking.
Yeah.
I didn't realize why the earpiece was in their ear. So as we're talking, the producer is talking to her as we're talking.
Telling you to wrap
it up, or we got to change the subject, or this is this. Yeah. So that was a transition for me, and also realizing that you have to be in sync with the individuals you're working with. Yeah. You guys, you don't want to plan out what you're going to say, but there has to be some type of rhythm to what you're saying so it's smooth or whatever. And you also have to, you have to be some controversy. You have to argue sometimes so people realize that you're not just up there being robots. So
I heard you say some things before, and I said, wow, I'm glad they went to commercial. So you guys, y'all started off Were y'all on ESPN too?
We were on ESPN2, but now we're on CBS Sports.
Okay, CBS Sports.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have the contract now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so
yeah.
what? CBS is now going to start showing the CFL games?
They show them. They show like before like college football and
Yeah.
NFL starts. They show some of our games. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
amazing.
Yep.
So,
it's not CBS. It's CBS Sports.
okay,
It's totally
CBS
different.
Sports.
Yeah,
Okay,
CBS
like
Sports.
Fox Sports or something
Exactly.
similar
Exactly.
to that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how
yeah.
was transition from one station to another? How was that transition, or was it just easy?
It's the same for us because our up there TSN, which is
Yeah.
equivalent to ESPN, actually are partially owned by ESPN.
Yeah.
That's their major network in Canada,
Okay.
whatever. So that's who shows us. It's just CBS Sports or it was us ESPN2. They were just getting the feed and just showing it down here too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
See, I just, I know sometimes I just thought maybe coming with certain rules or restrictions.
No,
or
there's nothing.
anything
Nothing
like
changes
that.
for
Yeah,
us. Nothing changed for us.
So
no.
how long have you been doing the analyst for TSN now?
This is my 16th year.
16?
When I retired, I went straight into it.
Dang, I knew you was. I didn't know, 16.
16th year.
That's
yeah.
why they had you in there as one of the best analysts of TSN.
I do all right. I do
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, I
yeah,
do all right.
16
Yeah,
years.
it's my 16th year.
So
Yeah.
Okay. Dang, 16 years.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself doing anything else outside of that, as far as in the broadcasting, like maybe your own podcast or?
Me and my buddy, guy who I work with, David Sanchez, we
Yeah.
do a podcast. Not
Okay.
as much as we should. We're going to really try to kick it in during the season. But what I do, man, I enjoy it so
Yeah.
much, man. It just allows me to express myself,
Yeah.
to be myself. There are limits or
Yeah.
there are restrictions on some of the things we can talk about, but it allows me just to go out there and express myself, and I'm still involved in the game of football.
yeah.
Something I've been doing since I was 4 or 5 years old, and
Yeah.
I'm still getting paid to do it. Like I say, I pinch myself every time I wake up and realize that I got a pretty good life.
So,
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah. You seem like you're still doing a lot, and like you're doing the broadcasting right after you retire from
Mm-hmm.
football and all that. So, do you still have time to work out and things of that nature?
Oh, my
Or you
goodness.
think you're still
Yes,
you think so?
yes,
I think he
yes.
trying to challenge you.
I
Phil.
think so,
Yeah, I'm trying
dude. If that, besides my family and my working out, is it for me. When I can't work out, like I can't go, and I know it's saying I can't go a day or two without doing something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But ask your man, bro. Ask your
Just make
father.
sure, you did a lot of stuff.
Oh my
just to make sure you're still in
goodness,
shape and all
no!
that.
All the time. The last time I was out of shape?
When?
When my mother had me, and it was her fault because she wasn't working out. And other people have heard me say that. I am serious. Dude, working out is it for me.
Okay.
My wife, if she doesn't work out, it wouldn't be a happy home.
I told you he different.
Yes.
But we kind of getting closer to that time, and I got a couple more questions I wanted to ask you real
Okay.
quick. To any young people out there that's maybe having trouble, or not even, I ain't gonna say having trouble, but let's just say they want to play football, they want to play sports, or they just need a little motivation to do whatever they're doing. What would you tell a young guy out there, a young Milt, that's looking to become someone in their life and in their career?
The most important thing you can do is you have to surround yourself with individuals who are trying to do the same things you're trying to do. If you surround yourself with individuals who aren't doing well, who are losers, eventually that's going to be you. You know. When I was growing up, there was a disc jockey. I don't know what you did, like a DJ on the radio, and when he used to get off the air, the last thing he used to say was, "If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you." Meaning that if the people around you aren't striving, aren't trying to be great, you got to get some different
You
people
can't
around
change
you.
the people around you.
Change the people around you. Yeah, you got to surround yourself with people who are trying to do the same thing. So if you want to be a great football player, you got to get around some great football players. If you want to be a doctor, you got to get surround yourself with people who are trying to be doctors. If you want to be a great student, you got to be around some people who are great students. Yeah. And it makes it so much easier because you guys are gonna push each other. Yeah. Like we talked about when we're out there working out. Yeah. There'll be some days where people didn't want to work out hard, but everybody else is out there working hard, so they're gonna fall in line.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like having competition. When you have somebody out there that you want to be, or you want to be just as good as, when you're racing with them, you'll try harder just to try to make sure you can get ahead of them, or at least stay with them because they're around. Or, it's just something to push you more.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
just another person that's around you.
That's
Exactly.
friendly, positive competition.
There it is.
Yeah,
There it
definitely.
is.
I definitely
Yep.
would say your environment is one of the most important things, like to start making change.
Right.
And this is another question that I want to ask you. What would you say to a parent or parents who's raising a child that want to be an athlete, especially one that's trying to go to the professional level?
First of all, help them realize that it's a difficult task.
Yeah.
I would never say to a kid, you can't be a pro.
Yeah.
But if they're not doing what pros do, I would tell them, you're not doing what you need to do to be a pro.
Right.
Also, you have to make sure you want to let the kid be kids. At a young age, just let them be kids.
Yeah.
I hear too many parents, well, we're trying to get, no, just let them be kids.
Yeah.
And if it's meant to be, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If they have it in them, if they want to work hard, let them do that.
Yeah.
But just let kids be kids. Also, you know, you got to let them understand that this could be taken away from you like that.
Ooh-wee.
Like that.
Yeah. Even if you make it there.
Even if you make it there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even if you are a hard worker, even if you do everything right, there's still a great chance you're not going to
Yeah.
be a pro.
Yeah.
So realize what the most important thing is, and that's making sure that you have something that you can put a foundation on where it has nothing to do with athletics, you know? That's what you have to realize. And it's not always going to college is good, but there's other things individuals can do where you can put a foundation where you can make a living. So that's what you have to do. Of course, yes, everyone wants to go pro and do all those good things, but easier said than done, and you have to make sure that a foundation is laid on something that's going to be strong.
Ooh.
Yep.
That's very powerful. Well, people, we come down to the end, and I just want to thank Milt for coming here, man. We
Definitely,
appreciate you. What a great interview. I hope everybody out there was motivated. I hope y'all take time to really pay attention to what this man is saying and all the things he overcame to get to where he became what he became in life. So, you want to say anything before we close out?
I definitely love this episode and getting to know him and learning how he grew up and where he's come from and what he's doing now. And you know, the last thing I would like to say is name a time and a place.
Who you talking to? Talking about Milt?
Oh, the person, the Canadian, the best looking Canadian player.
Oh, the Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame.
These
bro.
young bucks.
You know, I just want to let that be
why
known
they do
right
that
now.
to you?
It
Milt?
happens all the time.
Well, that's it, y'all. Peace and love. Take care. And everybody, have a great day.
All righty.
Oh, man, Milt, that was awesome.
No, man, I appreciate it.